Hi everyone, welcome back to Jungle Citizens.
No, don't lick me.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Jungle Citizens. Our dog is covered in You're covered in rubbish, Junie. I'm not gonna... This is what we have to put up with, you see. We'll try again. Hi everyone, welcome back to Jungle Citizens. Today, the idea is not to show you a dog that's full of but actually to show you some of our garden techniques and our tricks and tips, shall we say. So talking about our soil, talking about our planting beds, talking about our paths and why and how we design the things that we do in the way that we do. But first things first, somehow Junie has to get bored of this. There we go, perfect. And so we'll start. We're going to start in this area. Now, everything that we're going to show you today, basically, we've planted since the move. If we're unprepared, then we have to do things like dig with machetes, which is less than ideal, but where there is a will, there is a way. It's very clayey soil, but that's something that we have to work on in order that it starts getting a little bit better for the plants. It's not too bad, not great either. So it's only been in a few weeks. This is a beehive ginger we have here, and you can see the Thai constellation behind it. So actually this is kind of it's a good, but it's a struggling example of one of the bed areas that we've planted, because we had had a very difficult water issue here because it's very dry and it's very open. But a sprinkler system is now starting to be put in. So in just a few days, this will look very different, and we'll show you then. But this is a really good example of a kind of bed that we have. So what we always end up doing is creating either raised or submerged beds, and then we have our paths very defined. So we're going to show you a few examples of this, and basically all of these areas that are beds are the areas where we have to put all of the organic material, anything, and we'll go into details on why you have to do that later. Now in this area you can see the soil is very dry, but if you go underneath it's still a little bit wet, but it's exposed, it's open. Now in an ideal world you don't want to have any of your soil exposed to the sun or even to bright light. Ideally, it always wants to be covered. If you imagine going into a forest, on the ground, you'll never find an open soil area. Generally speaking, it's always covered in leaf litter. So we try and emulate that effect because it basically massively reinforces the growing system, the soil. So we're going to go around and show you a couple of things, because this area right now you can see is a little bit open. We have to get a lot more mulch. We're actually going to show you some mulch in a minute, and hopefully we'll be able to have enough to get it over here. You can see there's a very nice alocasia coming up there. Which is super cool with a grasshopper on it. Look at that. Has he lost his one leg or is he just hiding it? I think he maybe is just hiding it. Anyway, that's a pretty cool guy. Looks a bit like a Star Wars character. There's a brinjal here, aubergine coming, and there's also some strawberries here, which seem to be quite happy in spite of the very tropical conditions. And there's also some potatoes here. Christina's potatoes. So these have actually been grown from potatoes that we bought in the shop that had started to get some green growing nodes coming. So again, you can see the soil is uncovered here. We would ideally need to cover it, but it's very light and fluffy, which allows for the roots to kind of spread out, and then it kind of gives you a good medium to grow the tubers in. But what we want to do is go over here. So over here you can see this kind of definition. Here we have our open area. This is going to be a seating area or a walking area. In this case, because we had these materials available, we used the Jira or laterite stone, which is kind of a porous stone. And then you can see on the other side, this is the planting area. So this area is very clearly defined. And we're actually going to be building another bed here, you can see, in this kind of triangle where all of that mulch is. And then it's very easy to keep this place clean, and all of the organic material that lands here has to get swept up and then put over here. Now have a look at this. Look, see here. Here the soil is open. And because it's open, you've got lots of plants coming up. And actually, I weeded this a couple of days ago. I took out a lot of the grasses and stuff, but you can see there's still lots of stuff coming. Now if we go over here, where we have an area covered with mulch, the only places that you can see anything growing is just here, where the soil is still uncovered. Look. Now there's another thing about this. If you look here, the soil is dry, right? Look. Where the soil is open, the soil is dry, it's very desiccated. Now if we go under here, Look at that. Look how wet that is. Now, look at this, look. That is the mycorrhizal fungi. This is gold. This basically is what is turning all of this organic material into soil. You can see that we've planted a whole bunch of things and they're starting to do a little bit well. Like back here, this is a Lophopetalum whiteyanum. It's a massive evergreen endemic forest tree to the Western Ghats. Here we've got Polyalthea fragrans, which we've now found out is Monoon fragrans, which is also relatively happy. And you can see again, absolutely covered with mulch. And if I go under here, this is amazing and wet soil because it is covered. And that is the thing that makes the biggest difference. So this delineation is something that makes a massive difference. It really makes your maintenance work easy. It means that it's very clear where should all the organic material go, where should the leaves go, where should the sticks go, where should all of these things go. They should go in the beds. All of these areas remain clear. So the other big benefit of having these kind of distinctions, especially if you're in a tropical area like we are, is that it makes it very clear where you're walking. It's really important to see where you are putting your feet because you might step on a snake, you might step on a scorpion, you might step on a centipede, and all of these things generally make your day a little bit worse. So if you have very clearly defined paths that are kept clean, it means that there's no risk of stepping on any of these kind of animals, which is ideal, really. All of this stuff is very often considered as waste. It is material that gets burned, it is material that is just thrown out, but actually every single last drop of organic material that you get, whether it is the dung of an animal, whether it is a leaf, whether it's a green leaf or a brown leaf, whether it is a stick or whatever it is, even your vegetable waste, all of this has the ability to turn into amazing soil. So you don't just have to make beds like this and then put the mulch over. You can also have separate piles of compost, which will eventually turn into soil. Somewhere like here, if you make a pile of leaves and sticks and other things in April and May, the monsoon will come in June, and by October, November, you'll have a massive pile of the best black soil. In temperate parts of the world where it's a little bit colder, it will take a little bit longer. But again, if you have a good composting system where there's lots of heat, you'll get a huge amount of soil very quickly. If you burn it, you just waste it. So you can see here the very clear delineation of the path. So we've built this path that goes through these two areas on either side, and it's very clear where you're walking. Now, this is helpful for a load of reasons, but the biggest one actually is that we are creating a defined footprint. Now, you'll see anywhere that there's a footpath, very few things are growing up because they're constantly being walked on. So if you define where people are walking, you're actually defining a path that is very difficult for other weeds and plants to grow up. And importantly, you're not compacting the soil in your growing areas, which is also where you might be having seedlings and saplings and important plants that you don't want to have trampled. Not only that, but in these kind of high rainfall tropical areas, raised beds like this also stop all that topsoil and all of the mulch from washing away when you have these really high rainfall events. The other thing about this is it looks very nice. It creates this very nice kind of organic garden. You can see we've got two different things on these sides. Here we've got the laterite stone, and on this side we've got these wood pieces that we've found. And actually here we've got a far more temporary method, which is to use the banana stems, which works temporarily, but of course they disappear eventually. So we have to replace that with something a little bit more solid. But there's lots of different ways that you can do this, but creating an effective delineation between where you walk in your garden and where you plant or where you grow in your garden ends up making a massive difference. And it looks beautiful. This is a lemon, by the way, and now is a good time to look at it because there's lemon flowers, look. And they smell absolutely amazing. So those are lemon flowers, and if you look down here, these are lemons. So the whole tree smells incredible. The fragrance of the leaves is amazing. The flowers smell almost like a kind of citrusy jasmine kind of smell. And this one has flowers coming everywhere. So it's going to be full with lemons, which is awesome. So we've been talking a lot about our mulch because it's really one of the most important things. Now we are going to show you how we make it at a big scale. So one of our really amazing friends, Clinton Baz, he runs a company called V Recycle. Now, most of what he does is collecting the household garbage. He's able to get, I think if I'm not wrong, 96% recycled out of all of this household trash. So everything is segregated, whatever can be recycled is recycled. And then he's left with just a few things, so especially things like sanitary towels and nappies or diapers, these things are left over. One of the other things that he has lots and lots and lots of is this stuff, garden waste. So for the last few weeks, we have been getting all of his garden waste here. And what we then do is we put it through a shredder to create all this amazing mulch, and then we add it on the top layer of our soil. So we're going to show you that process. We're going to show you how we shred it, and then we're going to show you how we use it. But it starts like this as raw material, and the amazing thing is, this is something that would have traditionally been burned. It would have just been put to the side of the garden, and then they would have burned it. But of course, it's such an asset. It's full of nutrients, it's full of amazing things that really benefit the soil and create amazing growth. So here it is, we have it, it's not getting burned, and we're going to be using it to make all of our plants look amazing. You can see in front of me while I do this that the sprinkler system is on. So this is a brand new sprinkler system, and by all means it is absolutely a luxury. Now you might see in the background behind this fence that there's actually a river. This is a perennial river, so there's ample water resources here, which basically allows us to say, okay, we're going to supercharge the system, if you like, by providing a regular and comprehensive watering over the first few years of establishment, because we're basically building a rainforest microclimate here now. Now, of course, this is not possible in many places where you have acute water shortage problems. Even in places in this state, this is very difficult if you don't happen to have a river right next door. But what this allows us to do is basically grow a forest canopy incredibly quickly. In the matter of just a few years, this area can be canopied. And when that happens, you need to use a lot less water and you massively increase the biodiversity. So it's one of those things always to weigh up. In many places, the equation ends up not favoring an active watering system like this. But in this very specific location, it's worth putting in because the impact is, quite frankly, astronomical. So again, it's very good to be showing you guys this area. This is the kind of main roadway. And again, you can see the kind of defined road where everything is kept clear. And then you can see again on this side that you have these kind of beds. Now, in another 2 years or so, hopefully, we'll be able to show you this exact same way, except it's going to really be covered with trees and a canopy. And I just want to bring you guys over here quickly to show you this beautiful tree. This is starfruit, which is called Avaroa carambola. And it's got beautiful flowers, as you can see. It's actually got beautiful foliage as well, and the new foliage coming out is really amazing. And then, I don't know where you're going because...
The fruit.
Ah, the fruit is there. Yeah, I was going to say there's a whole line of fruit here as well. So those are the fruits. So it's a very delicious fruit. It is actually native to South Asia, so arguably native to this area. The parrots love it. So if you have this tree, you're only going to get some of the fruits because very often the wildlife get an awful lot of them. And all of these are things that John planted, incidentally. So that's a pair of Malabar pied hornbills. They're a very, very beautiful and at-risk endemic bird species that's only found in the Western Ghats of India. These hornbills are really, really important birds because they basically act as seed dispersers. They fly a huge distance and they eat lots of different fruits. So actually, people call them the farmers of the forest. Now that we have the sprinkler system, it allows us to plant all year. So the next thing we're going to be doing is taking a little road trip and going to see 2 or 3 different nurseries and buying a whole bunch of plants and trees that we can plant in here straight away. So don't miss it because we'll be uploading it next week. Thank you guys very much for watching and I'll see you very soon. Is good enough? Very good. Stop it.